they are. We've talked all offseason about how good this division is. I do think there's going to be an adjustment. First-time head coach, Russ in a new place. I think the idea that they're going to win that division, kind of too lofty expectations for me.
Well, I'll tell you, I want to talk about somebody now who I think disagrees with you. That would be Russell Wilson's new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. He had some comments recently about keeping his new quarterback upright, which was an issue, obviously, in Seattle. Take a listen.
We don't ever want him to get touched. I think up to this point, the past 2 games, I think we gave up 1 sack. I mean, we want to get that ball out. We want to understand the intention. We want to protect him. And then we want him to do what he does when it breaks down. I don't think that he wants to live in that world. I mean, I don't think anybody does. We want him to play 10 years here, 12 years, 15 years. And the way you do that is by extending it by running the ball and protecting the quarterback.
All right, so obviously Russell was famous in Seattle for getting outside the pocket, extending plays, making magic happen there. But what Hackett's saying here, Harry, is he'd rather him thrive in the pocket as much as possible. You agree with that approach?
Well, you look at a guy like Russell Wilson, over the last 5 seasons, he's taken more sacks than anyone. He can't let that happen here in Denver. And the head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, that's what he's trying to say. But hold on for a second. Everybody just hold on. Omaha. We talk about the Broncos, Omaha. For 1 minute, don't Nathaniel Hackett forget that he has 2 productive running backs in that backfield who happened to rush for 900 yards each last season. I don't want him to be enamored by this Christmas gift that he got underneath his tree and Russell Wilson. We're going to let Russ cook. Give the ball to those running backs and let them do their thing. Don't just get enamored by the pass game. Listen, it's like Sunday service, right? The pastor say, fight temptation. Fight it, coach. Fight that temptation. Don't pass the football every play. Run the football. Let those backs be effective and let them compliment Russell Wilson.
Tim, I mean, that's part of what Hackett said there, though, right? Like, we want to run the ball. That's part of how you protect him. Do you agree with Hackett's approach on all this?
I mean, I do to an extent. Like, yes, you want to protect your quarterback. At the same time, you don't want to take something away that he does really well. Look, Russ is great at creating. I think Harry's right. Look, they need to run the football. That needs to be the foundation of what they do. I think that they also want to protect their quarterback and have him not get hit. But listen, you better be calling really good plays all the time if you think the quarterback is just going to always get the ball out of his hands immediately. Right. And look, I think it's a little bit like, hey, look, we don't want to run our quarterback. You remember Cam Newton, talking about like, hey, listen, what was it? A lion needs to roar, or whatever he was saying back then. Like, the reality is you don't want to take one of the best things away from a quarterback when it's how, plenty of offense gets generated throughout his career. So, yeah, fewer sacks, but I don't think you want to handcuff Russ in terms of how he plays.
No, and I think that's true. I mean, obviously there's a balance, and obviously there are going to be plays that break down, and he's going to have to get out of the pocket. But I think in Seattle there was a lot of push and pull there, right? On like, was he leaving the pocket before he should have? How should the offensive run? But you think he can operate in a more traditional setup?
I think he definitely can. I think when it came to Seattle, I think him and Pete Carroll were not on the same page when it came to how much they wanted to run the ball, how much they wanted to pass the ball. So I think that kind of led to Russ pressing a little bit and trying to make a play too much and leading to sacks and interceptions and things like that. Because when you get outside that pocket, things can get a little dangerous. No pun intended.
I think it was intended.
Which it could be positive for the offense or it could be positive for the defense. But I think Russ is more than capable of standing in the pocket, making the throws. But I don't think the coach should put him in a box and say we're just going to stand here and throw from the pocket all day long, because that's what keeps defenders up at night and defensive players up at night. His ability to escape and get out of the pocket and throw the ball 60 yards down the field and create big plays. So I think you can't knock that part of his game out of it.
Kimberly, what are you hearing out of Denver? What do you expect to go on there with Russ in year one?
Yeah, it's interesting because every week I'm at a different game, and I talk to offensive linemen, and they talk about all these mobile quarterbacks. The key is, but when people, when you talk to people about Russ, it's usually like, he holds onto the ball a lot. And that's hard for his offensive linemen to always keep him upright because he always has the ball and is always scrambling. But when you look around the league, that is what we love about the
camp this week. After an 11-day excused absence, with all the injuries along the offensive line, new head coach Todd Bowles was asked how he thinks Brady will manage. Here's what he said.
It's great to know he's seen everything. The time he spent in the league, he's seen everything. He knows how to get rid of the football. he understands what people are trying to do to him. So, I feel comfortable with that.
Director blitzing for 20 years, right, Todd? I mean,
He's still standing. He's still standing.
I mean, those are the words of someone who used to compete against Tom Brady, right? I think he's got some scars, right? You played with him. How do you think he's going to handle this?
I think Todd Bowles said it right. I mean, he's played for 23 years. I mean, there's nothing he hasn't seen when it comes to a defense. So he'll do a great job adjusting. I mean, teams may play them differently. We don't know. But I remember in 2015, we had a similar situation. We had rookie offensive line playing, and we feel like we had a different set of 5 group of offensive linemen playing every other week. And he still found a way to throw for 4,700 yards, 30-plus touchdowns. So he'll find a way to adjust. He's seen it all. He's dealt with different situations, receivers getting hurt, not having a run game. So he'll find ways to adjust. He'll get the ball out quick. And he has a great amount of weapons on the outside. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, and a talented backfield as well. And I like to pick up a Kyle Rudolph, a reliable tight end. So he'll find a way to get it done.
Yeah, Bowles has consistently said for the last few weeks, like, things that would be a problem with someone else aren't an issue with Tom Brady because of everything he's seen and what he's been through. Kimberly, when you talk to people around this situation, how do you think the Bucs are approaching all the issues that they're having around Tom Brady?
Yeah, Dan, because I reached out to people at the Bucs that I know, and I said, this is a lot. Like, it feels like there's always bad news coming out of your building. Somebody's always hurt. And they had to talk me off the ledge. They're like, we are good. We are confident in the roster that we have. Listen, they are very clear, though. We cannot afford to lose anybody else. But when you look at some of the draft picks they've made, especially on the offensive line, they have kids that may not be proven, but there's a reason they're on this roster because they have belief in them. And this is why, guys, this is why you have a Tom Brady. This is why you bring him in. You heard tight end Cameron Brate talk about Brady is an omnipresent being in this building, on this practice field, and when he wasn't here, it was odd. There was just an added level of confidence boost that is entered into the mix when Brady is on the field. Everything feels like it's going to be okay, and that's why you bring him in, because he has seen it all. And Todd, I used to cover Todd. Like, I know he's tried to blitz Brady a bunch of times. Like the guy. This is why he's the greatest of all time, and you expect him to be able to handle whatever is thrown at him.
Tim, do you expect Brady to be able to handle all these issues and come out on top?
I do. And, James, alluded to this earlier. It's not like Brady's entire career he's been, behind, 5 All-Pros in front of him. I feel like there was a stretch in New England where you were constantly searching through the media guide because it was another undrafted free agent that was starting on that Patriots offensive line. And then as the season went along, it was like, hey, there's nothing to see here. Look, maybe Dante Scarnecchia did an amazing job coaching him up, but Tom Brady did an excellent job of getting rid of the football. And I don't think it's really been any different in Tampa, and I don't think it will be any different in Tampa. So I do think there's an element here where we are, maybe, overplaying this in terms of, how worked up, people should be in Tampa. They seem to be okay with it. And truthfully, I'd be more worried about, like, hey, is Chris Godwin going to be able to be healthy the entire year? Because he does